All right, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a hidden epidemic that's running right through the beautiful, vital waterways of Pakistan. From the winding Chenab River to these vast, essential agricultural canals, these waters are, they're picturesque and absolutely vital for everyday life. But they also hold a quiet, escalating danger. So we're going to break down the hard data, the demographics, and the major climate factors to understand exactly what is going on here and, more importantly, how we can actually stop it.
So take a quick second and ask yourself, what is one of the leading causes of accidental death in South Asia? When we think about public health crises, our minds usually jump straight to, infectious diseases or traffic accidents, maybe chronic illnesses. But the real answer to this question represents a massive, often completely overlooked public health emergency that rarely makes the front page.
Well, the answer is drowning, and the numbers are just absolutely staggering. According to World Health Organization estimates, 23,000 lives are lost to drowning in Pakistan in a single year. 23,000. To put that into perspective, that's enough people to fill a small sports stadium. And it's not just a statistic, right? Every single one of those digits represents a shattered family, a lost child, or a missing parent. It is a silent crisis that literally demands our attention.
Now, when we place Pakistan's crisis into a broader regional context, the drowning mortality rate just skyrockets above its neighbors. Pakistan is sitting at a tragic 9.6 deaths per 100,000 people. Compare that to Bangladesh at 5.7 and India at 3.9. It becomes incredibly clear very quickly that Pakistan is facing a uniquely severe burden when it comes to water safety in this part of the world.
And this tragedy scales up even further when we zoom out to the wider Commonwealth. Because of its massive population, India ranks number 1 with over 54,000 deaths. But listen to number 2. Pakistan, with roughly 23,000 deaths, tragically holds the second highest total in the entire Commonwealth, followed by Nigeria. This data really confirms that we are looking at one of the absolute epicenters of this global crisis.
Okay, Section 1, Vulnerable Victims. Who is at risk?
Global averages and localized realities, they actually tell two totally different stories here. Globally, the WHO tells us that toddlers, children under 5 years old, are by far at the highest risk. But in Pakistan? Actually, wait, let me rephrase that. Young children are still highly vulnerable everywhere, for sure. But local studies from areas like Muzaffarnagar show that adventurous youth, specifically those between the ages of 11 and 20, actually face the highest risk locally. Let's break that down a bit more. Based on a 5-year observational study conducted along the Chenab River in the Muzaffarnagar district, a massive 31% of those fatalities were among 11 to 20-year-olds. Why is that? Well, think about it. During the blistering summer months, teenagers and young adults naturally seek some relief from the heat in rivers and deep canals. They're energetic, maybe a bit overconfident, and critically, almost all of them lack formal swimming or water rescue training. We also absolutely have to talk about the gender disparity. Local studies show about a 75% male predominance in accidental drownings. It makes sense, right? It's mostly young guys taking risks in unsupervised waters. However, we cannot overlook the dangers faced by women. According to the Commonwealth Drowning Prevention Report, Pakistan holds the highest female drowning mortality rate in the entire Commonwealth, at 6.1 per 100,000. So, while young men make up the bulk of everyday recreational accidents, women in Pakistan are still drowning at rates completely unmatched by peer nations, often due to domestic water hazards and catastrophic flooding.
Moving on to Section 2, Climate Amplifiers, the monsoon threat.
So we've talked about everyday recreational accidents, but the monsoon season, that's a whole different beast. Mapping out the deadly monsoon season in Pakistan reveals a very clear, terrifying escalation. The threat begins to rise in June, but when we hit July and August, the situation just becomes dire. Swelling rivers and sudden urban flooding turn familiar, everyday landscapes into literal death traps. In fact, during a recent peak 60-day window in the summer, Punjab's emergency service, Rescue 1122, reported handling roughly 200 drowning incidents. Do the math on that. That is multiple severe emergencies every single day, placing an incredible strain on first responders. And honestly, we just can't ignore the broader climate picture here. The National Disaster Management Authority captured it perfectly, stating, "Supercharged by climate change. During the cataclysmic floods of 2022, more than 1,700 lives were lost." This powerfully connects everyday drowning risks to the broader climate catastrophe. When extreme weather events turn entire inland regions into oceans overnight, the risk isn't just about a risky swim in a canal anymore. It's about water forcibly entering homes and wiping out entire communities.
Taking a step back, data from the Royal Life Saving Society reveals that 40% of all global drowning deaths actually occur in Commonwealth countries. Over 121,000 people in the Commonwealth died this way in 2021. Pakistan's struggle is a massive part of this systemic burden. It's a shared crisis, which means it requires coordinated, global action and shared knowledge to actually combat it.
Which brings us to Section 3, Preventing Tragedy, Solutions and Action.
So how do we actually stop this? Let's pivot toward empowerment here, because the absolute most important takeaway from this explainer is that drowning is a highly preventable public health crisis. Here is exactly what experts and the WHO recommend. First up, universal swimming literacy. Just teaching basic water safety and survival swimming in schools could save thousands of kids. Second, we need lifeguards and warning signage at known hotspots. The Dawn newspaper actually highlighted a recent tragedy where 18 people drowned in the unregulated Swat River in just one single month. Having trained personnel there is vital. Third, enhanced rural emergency response, so units like Rescue 1122 have the gear and access they desperately need. And finally, a cohesive national water safety strategy to tie all these efforts together into one big push.
To help build some real momentum for these solutions, the United Nations has designated July 25th as World Drowning Prevention Day. Pakistan officially observes this day to raise awareness because recognizing the danger and securing multi-sectoral action. I'm talking everything from urban planners fixing drainage systems to local schools teaching safety. Those are the very first steps to saving lives.
I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. You see, real drowning doesn't look like it does in the movies. There is rarely any dramatic splashing or screaming. It is incredibly fast and it is brutally silent. So the real question we have to ask ourselves is, will our response be silent too? Or are we going to push to implement the basic life-saving measures needed to protect the future of Pakistan? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this vital topic today. Keep learning and please stay safe out there.